order of whoever kind of submitted their the strategy first. So so that's how it works. One second, where are the participants? Okay, so so the first one we'll look at is called LP hedging with shorting on CEX, and it comes from Vasilis. And yeah, Vasilis, like afterwards, I'll give you an opportunity if you're on. I'll give you an opportunity to like answer questions about your strategy as well. But overall, I was pretty impressed with. Oh, sorry, let me back to here. This is not working. This button. Okay, great. So let's take a look at Vasilis' strategy here. So overall, I think this is kind of strategy that makes a lot of sense for Bot because this takes advantage of the new Solana DEX connectors, and it basically tries to implement a position where you can enter a position on a DEX LP, and you can short that. You can basically maintain a short and basically try to profit from earning fees on the LP versus maintaining the short and hedging your asset risk. So I think I really appreciate what Vasily did here because he basically used the newest the work in progress branch of Gateway to do this. Even though it was still very much work in progress, he managed to figure it out. He actually added functionality, I think, in his pull request here that I think we should actually build into the actual core functionality of Gateway. He had his LP management module here. So anyway, so I was really very impressed with his strategy. So here's his video.
All right. Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation titled Delta Neutral AMM CLMM LP Hedging with Sorting on a Centralized Exchange. So let's get into it. What's the big idea behind the project is that many liquidity pools offer very attractive yields. However, when one side or both sides of the pool are volatile assets, then we can lose a lot of the value of our inventory, at least in USD terms, if the price swings heavily to the downside. So the goal of this strategy is to hedge the volatile asset of the liquidity pool on a centralized exchange. So in these projects, we always assume that one side of the pool is a stable coin. As an example, we could provide liquidity into Solana USDC pool on Radium, while simultaneously shorting Solana on a centralized exchange like OKX. So how does this strategy work? We use a directional trading controller that checks both the liquidity pool position and our short position at regular intervals, for example 10 seconds, and at each check the controller can decide whether to open a new liquidity pool position if it doesn't exist or use the existing one. It can also decide whether to open to adjust the short or open a new one according to the configuration, and when stopping the bot it can also decide whether to stop the shorting, the liquidity, close the liquidity pool, or do both according to the configuration. So the key objective here is to keep the short on the centralized exchange as close as possible to the amount of the volatile asset in the liquidity pool. For this we define a rebalance percentage, for example 5%, as we'll see afterwards, and if the difference between the volatile asset amount in the pool and the short size exceed 5%, then we adjust the short. So with this, let's see a sample configuration of our strategy. So we see that we use a OKX perpetual and the trading pair Solana USDT, and we have to set the address, which is the Solana USDC pool on Radium, and you see this is CLMM, and we also define this pool AMM false. We see the rebalance percentage as 5% and the interval 10 seconds, and here we see that we will not use any existing short size and also close everything when stopping the bot. We also have to provide information for opening the pool, like for the range and how much of the base asset, how much Solana and how much USDC we need. Okay, so now let's run the bot. So, okay, so now the bot is running, and we see here that on Radium has opened a position where have almost 0.38 Solana, and on OKX we have a short almost 0.39. Let's see some key metrics that we monitor. So here we see, for example, the entry price and the entry time, which are key metrics, and the rebalance percentage, which it is at 5%, and the current divergence is at 1.18%. We see the size shorted on the DEX and the actual size on the pool, and we have profitability, which is the difference of the initial value of the pool and the current value, and we also have the portfolio value, the same for the whole portfolio value, that includes the amount on the centralized exchange and also includes the fees. We also have APR, APY, but if you don't run it more than 1 day, these are meaningless. And we also have the last update. So as future improvements, I intend to implement dual asset hedging, so that one can enter pools that both assets are cryptos. Another good improvement will be on-chain shorting, so to have to do the short on a perp DEX on Solana, so that we can have we can move liquidity from the perps to the pool and vice versa very easily. And of course there can be algorithmic enhancements on the shorting and a lot of strategy combinations. So I would be very happy to discuss potential improvements and strategy combinations with all of you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great. Well, that was great, actually. I really enjoyed that. It was very clear and concise. I also wanted to give Vasilis an opportunity to answer any questions about his strategy that he may want. So yeah. So did anyone have questions for Vasilis? I think he's on right now. I think he is. Yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, feel free to unmute your mic. But you have a couple of questions in the chat. So Andy says, would love to hear about what kind of some of the issues that you face with Gateway. And Waffles would kind of like I think he kind of wants to understand like how you're thinking about progressing these LP management strategies.
Yes, so for the first question for Gateway, I think the biggest problem for me was opening and closing positions, and one of the biggest difficult factors was the RPC endpoint. So the default RPC endpoint needs a lot of retrying, and I even had to change the TypeScript and put another package to retry. But then I changed to another RPC. I don't remember it now. Yeah, that is still free, and it worked better. And another thing is what the gateway reports as the amount, let's say, of Solana that you have, if it includes the fees or not. And sometimes I see something a little bit different on the UI, and So these were the difficulties, and I am keen to help also going forward because I want to advance my strategy. And for the second question, uh, there are many pathways to improve the strategy, and I'm also I don't know what to choose first. So one thing is to hedge for two assets, because for example I'm also in some pools with Radium and Solana, and I would like to apply it there. Another thing is to short on a DEX on Solana so that you can move your liquidity around. And there is another motivation for this. It's the fees. So the fees, for example, I saw on Radium, if you are a maker, they are 0, or on Drift, -1 basis points. And while on OKX, they amount to a lot. Yeah, and there are other crazy stuff you can do. You can decide not to short everything according to other metrics that you have. Maybe you can combine it with other strategies, when to enter, then how to rebalance, because the CLMM will need also rebalancing and opening, closing and reopening. So there are a lot of things that can be done.
Yeah, pretty good, Basilis. Just to contribute a few some feedback. Then I will also, if you want, we can continue discussing. You can ask me questions on whatever you need. But I think that going to full decks, that can be really cool. Not only for the fees, but also for the facility of having the assets in one place. Because if you are hedging your position and you are like playing more tight with the inventory that you have, at some point you need to close the LP position, like remove the liquidity, transfer the assets to OKX to fund the short, or you need to like think about some rebalance logic to maintain your positions once you start growing and adding more and more ranges. So thinking about moving everything to Solana, I think that is a really good idea.